Do you ever feel like you're perpetually drained, endlessly giving yet rarely receiving in return? Like you're everyone's default problem solver, but when it's your turn to seek help, the world goes eerily quiet? If this strikes a chord, you're not alone. There's an age-old truth that speaks to us just as powerfully today as it did centuries ago. Stoicism isn't merely about enduring life's hardships. It's about knowing where to set boundaries, how to prioritize yourself, and how to uplift others without losing sight of who you are. It's the mastery of not burning out while trying to keep everyone else alight. Intrigued? You should be. This ancient philosophy holds profound insights into redefining kindness, generosity, and yes, even self-care. If you've ever felt stretched too thin or wondered how to strike a healthier balance in your life, then listen closely. Stick with me, because we're about to explore something transformative. Imagine this. You're the rock people lean on, the one who always says yes, no matter the cost. Being dependable feels rewarding, doesn't it? But here's the hidden toll. Piece by piece, you're sacrificing parts of yourself until one day, you reach for what's left to give and find nothing. And now, when you need support, you stand alone. Why? Because you've poured everything into filling other people's cups, leaving yours empty. Enter Stoic wisdom, championed by thinkers like Marcus Aurelius. He emphasized the importance of self-preservation, not out of selfishness, but because caring for yourself enables you to care for others effectively. Think of it this way. Picture two neighbors with gardens. One nurtures their own garden first, ensuring it flourishes before sharing its bounty. The other spends all their time tending to everyone else's plots, neglecting their own. Over time, their garden becomes overrun and barren. The lesson is clear. You must cultivate your own garden before you can truly nourish others. Does this mean abandoning acts of kindness altogether? Not at all. Stoicism champions balance. True generosity is sustainable. It enriches others without depleting you. As Epictetus wisely noted, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond that defines your experience. We hold the power to say no when needed, safeguarding our energy so that our kindness remains impactful rather than exhausting. Plato echoed this sentiment, reminding us to recognize our limits and understand that authentic kindness stems from strength, not depletion. Carl Jung urged introspection, cautioning against squandering our vitality on external demands while forsaking inner peace. These timeless teachings converge on one principle. To serve others well, we must first serve ourselves. The Stoics, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus were unwavering advocates of pure action. They believed in doing the right thing for its intrinsic value, not for applause or reward. Seneca, especially, had much to say about generosity. He argued that true generosity seeks neither praise nor acknowledgement. It simply gives because it aligns with virtue. He advised giving freely, as we ourselves would wish to receive, with joy and without hesitation. After all, there's no grace in a gift begrudgingly given. Picture offering help purely to see the spark of gratitude in someone's eyes, free from ulterior motives or mental scorekeeping. This is the heart of Stoic generosity, giving from abundance, not material wealth, but emotional resilience and inner strength. So let's embrace this philosophy, learning to nurture ourselves first, so we can continue to give meaningfully and sustainably. When we offer something with the expectation of receiving something in return, we aren't truly giving. We're engaging in a transaction. Life is far too intricate and profound to be reduced to mere exchanges. The Stoic perspective on generosity resonates deeply with Aristotle's understanding of virtue. True virtue lies in finding joy in doing good for its own sake, not for the rewards it might yield. Giving should stem from the fulfillment that comes from making even the smallest difference in someone else's life, without attachment to outcomes. Plato also emphasized living according to our highest principles, regardless of external results. In this sense, generosity becomes an embodiment of your ideals, a reflection of your values. untethered from any concern for reciprocation. If you find yourself stretched thin or emotionally drained, remember that self-care is the bedrock of meaningful generosity. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. Nourish yourself first so that your giving arises from abundance rather than depletion. Authentic kindness requires balance. It means knowing when to give and, just as importantly, when to preserve your energy for yourself. When you do give, let it flow from a place of wholeness, free from the weight of expectations. According to Stoicism, generosity is about acting with integrity and joy, aligning your actions with your deepest values. If you've ever felt exhausted by overextending yourself or wonder how to strike equilibrium in your life, know that Stoicism offers guidance. The path is clear. Be compassionate toward others, but disciplined with yourself, honoring your limits and nurturing your well-being so you can give sustainably. Life, in all its complexity, invites us to embrace both our light and shadow, as Carl Jung elegantly described through his concepts of the persona and the shadow. The persona represents the face we present to the world, while the shadow holds the aspects of ourselves we conceal. Jung challenges us to integrate these parts, recognizing that giving without expectation is an act of authenticity and self-unification. This form of generosity, untethered from anticipation of return, becomes a powerful expression of empowerment. Epictetus reinforces this wisdom, reminding us that while we control our actions, the outcomes remain beyond our grasp. When we choose to give, whether it's our time, compassion, or resources, we act from a place of inner sovereignty. This choice shifts the focus from what we stand to gain to what we can contribute. Giving without expecting anything in return isn't merely noble, it's liberating. It frees us from the burden of unmet expectations, shields us from resentment, and fosters a spirit of generosity that enriches both our lives and the lives of others. Boundaries are equally vital in safeguarding our well-being. In a world that incessantly demands our time and energy, the pressure to always be available can feel suffocating. Stoicism, with its emphasis on personal virtue and inner tranquility, teaches us the necessity of saying no to protect our resources and priorities. This isn't about neglecting others. It's about preserving our strength so we can genuinely serve when it matters most. Consider the story of a mother who, out of love, sacrificed everything to care for her daughter. While this may appear to epitomize devotion, it had unintended consequences. The daughter never learned to navigate the world independently. Only after the mother's passing was the daughter compelled to stand on her own. This poignant tale reveals a profound truth. Excessive help can inadvertently hinder growth. By setting boundaries, we foster independence. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, self-discipline and discernment about what lies within our control are essential to living virtuously. Establishing boundaries becomes an act of wisdom, allowing us to support others without overshadowing their autonomy. Seneca echoes this sentiment, reminding us that true happiness springs from within, not from external circumstances or others' actions. By drawing lines, we empower others to discover their own resilience, just as we cultivate our own. This principle aligns with Aristotle's concept of the golden mean, finding balance between extremes. In the context of boundaries, it's about striking harmony between helping others and safeguarding our well-being. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of wisdom and self-respect, ensuring we don't deplete ourselves in meeting the endless demands of the world. Setting boundaries is a profound act of self-respect and personal integrity, one that transforms not only ourselves, but also the dynamics of our relationships. Many of us have learned through hard experience that being perpetually available often leads to feelings of being undervalued, like an old, reliable car everyone depends on without considering its need for maintenance. Yet, when we begin to assert limits, something remarkable happens. We reclaim our sense of worth. This isn't merely about declining requests. It's about boldly declaring that our time and energy are sacred resources, not commodities to be taken for granted. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that peace comes not from external actions, but from how we choose to perceive them. By setting boundaries, we take ownership of our judgments and create space for inner calm. Seneca echoes this wisdom, teaching that true freedom stems from mastering oneself. The deliberate choice to say no becomes an exercise in self-discipline, a powerful assertion of autonomy that defines who we are in relation to others. As Carl Jung might suggest, individuation, the process of becoming fully ourselves, requires clear boundaries. These lines shape our identity and foster psychological health, allowing us to engage with the world authentically and purposefully. Plato's philosophy offers another layer of insight. True helpfulness isn't boundless availability, but rather sustainable kindness, an equilibrium where both giver and receiver feel honored. Epictetus would agree, urging us to recognize ourselves as stewards of our own time. By protecting our energy, we honor the deeper purpose of life itself. Setting boundaries doesn't mean shutting people out or ceasing to care. Instead, it enables us to show up more meaningfully when it truly matters. It allows generosity to flow freely, unburdened by exhaustion or resentment. This practice benefits everyone involved. When we set boundaries, we model respect, not just for ourselves but also for others. In doing so, we teach those around us how to treat us while inspiring them to reflect on their own limits. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual understanding, and boundaries lay the foundation for such harmony. They remind us that caring for others does not require sacrificing ourselves. Like pouring from a full cup, we must nurture our own well-being first if we hope to sustainably support others. Far from selfishness, setting boundaries is an act of courage and self-awareness. It challenges misconceptions that equate limit setting with weakness or indifference. Instead, it cultivates a culture of mutual respect and balanced interactions. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, knew that living well means balancing care for others with care for oneself. True generosity enriches both parties, ensuring neither giver nor receiver feels depleted. Living according to these principles inspires those around us to adopt similar practices, creating ripples of positive change. Ultimately, setting boundaries is about aligning our actions with our values. It's about finding joy in giving without attaching happiness to outcomes or seeking approval. A Stoic life is one of intentionality, where every boundary drawn reflects a commitment to authenticity and integrity. Through this practice, we don't just transform ourselves, we inspire others to embrace their own power to live with clarity, purpose, and grace. By proving that kindness doesn't mean losing ourselves and generosity doesn't require self-sacrifice, we inspire others to discover their own equilibrium. We show them the value of drawing boundaries, honoring their own needs, and nurturing inner calm even as life's storms rage around us. This timeless wisdom isn't a relic of the past. It's profoundly relevant today. In a world that constantly demands more from us, knowing where to set limits is essential. Give freely, but not at the expense of your well-being. Establishing boundaries isn't about retreating from the world. It's about engaging with it more authentically, guided by a clear vision of what it means to live meaningfully. The deeper lesson here is to live courageously and compassionately, balancing awareness of our own needs with sensitivity to the needs of others. It's about finding harmony between giving and preserving, between caring for others and respecting our own limits. Stoicism calls on us to embrace life fully, celebrating both the joy of contributing to others and the resilience that comes from recognizing and asserting our worth. As you reflect on these principles, remember this: setting boundaries isn't merely an act of self-preservation. It's an exercise in wisdom. It strengthens relationships, fosters mutual respect, and paves the way for a life rich in balance, fulfillment, and peace. By embodying these teachings, you don't just elevate your own existence. You become a guiding light for those around you, demonstrating that it's possible to live generously, authentically, and with unwavering integrity.